Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Media Crash podcast. This is episode 3 after some delay. We're going to be talking about the superhero genre. And in this podcast, every episode, we go over a different genre in pop culture and just talk about our experiences with it in video games, movies, television, you name it. And so obviously we missed last week. We're all kind of like figuring out how to do this remotely just with the pandemic that is currently going on. And we have kind of figured out a makeshift solution for now. We'll constantly keep improving. We just really wanted to get some content out to you guys. So first episode of this remote pandemic edition is superheroes. So we're going to be talking about our experience with superheroes. And I know out of the three of us, I definitely think Matthew is the most superhero guy on the planet, out of us three anyways.
Definitely. Yeah, I consider that I actually was bothered to read the comics for a little bit. Yeah, that's basically it.
Yeah, because I remember when we were in school, it was like you and one of our other friends, Ryan, were just like, you would constantly read all the superhero comics like as they were coming out and stuff like that, not only just like watching all the movies and stuff.
Yeah, I did that for like a year and a half, and I was like caught up with like the 3 series that I cared about. It just kind of got hard after a while because, God, it's so hard to keep track of all like the lore of the different like comic books and like the different storylines.
When everything resets, like, every series or, every single one's this multiverse shaking event chain.
Yeah.
It seems like it would be hard to keep track of.
And the thing is it's not like a complete reboot. Like, it is, but there's still several storylines that's technically canon, but they also don't make sense. Like, The Killing Joke is like one of the most famous comic book things ever. You might have even heard of it, where like the Joker like shoots Barbara Gordon, Batgirl, like cripples her and whatever. That was before like the big giant, one of the big time crisis things. But then she's apparently happened after the reboot started, but they just clarified that she got better and is no longer crippled. But it did happen because
what?
Yeah, she's just Batgirl again, but she has like a robot spine or something.
That's what I hated about like superheroes, and I remember making fun of you guys about, just because like, I don't know, the biggest reason I didn't like superhero stuff to begin with was just like the simple fact that like they just reboot the stuff like constantly, so you could be super invested, and then they're just like, nah, we're gonna restart, and like it just felt like everything has like 80 different universes in which it's in, and like nothing actually matters because like they can like try to like build the stakes and be like, oh, we're killing Superman. I don't know if that's happened. It probably has happened. And then like it's not even really dramatic. Yeah, because like then you just know he's gonna come back somehow, or they're gonna reboot the franchise or something.
That could be part of the appeal of superheroes, though. Like, it's really easy to jump into because like I am hardly into superheroes at all. I know of them just because of like culture. But I can jump into pretty much any superhero story because they're pretty much all like, you don't really need prior information, partly because it's such a clusterfuck of information beforehand, but also because like, they're written to be, things you can jump into.
The biggest problem with the comics themselves is what they'll do is it's unlike like Japanese manga, which usually has one guy behind the whole series. Despite how long it is, it's still one guy. But over like the decades that comics is, if they switch out writers every like couple story arcs, and then so the next writer is like, I don't want Bane in here. Get Bane out of here. And then I'll be like, then what the fuck was the point of like 3 arcs of this character? But yeah, that's just how it is.
Yeah, I could see that.
Pretty annoying.
Like, I know I've always kind of just been like, I just now am actually starting to get
aren't
into
you slightly into Japanese culture? Time to grind.
I do have actually My Hero Academia right here is a superhero anime that I know
I didn't notice that
super into. Yeah, and then I guess technically that one back there, yeah, that's My Hero Academia. I know we all are all caught up on that, and that is like, I think one of my favorite superhero things just in general, because it's like,
honestly, same. It doesn't have that problem where like the plot just doesn't matter.
Oh yeah, no,
like you just don't care about the plot.
And I think like what I really like about it is how they like. So I think it's like Matthew, isn't it like 70% or is it 70 or 80% of like the entire population has like quirks or like are
Yeah.
born? Yeah. So just at a random point, just a bunch of random people get quirks, and then like 70% of the whole population like are born with quirks, and they can just be completely random things. So someone can literally just look like a dog. That's his quirk. But then someone could shoot fire and stuff like that. And so there's obviously like a whole superhero like culture. Uh, it's pretty dope.
If you've heard about superheroes, you've probably heard about it. Probably.
Hopefully.
And if you haven't, you definitely need to watch it.
You really should. It's high quality.
There is an appeal to superheroes of why people like them so much, despite how silly some of the plot lines go. And it's just the closest I've heard it being called is like sort of like an American like mythology at this point, where there's not one concise story people point to as like that's the OG story of Superman. People just know the story. And some interpretations he crash landed here. Sometimes it's the little bits of the origin change, but it's always like everyone knows the general gist of Superman.
That's an interesting way of like looking at it. You know, that's the way a lot of old mythologies were. Like, you know, there's no single Hercules story, or at least it's really hard to pin down a characterization because he's more like a culture hero. And that's pretty much what superheroes are.
Yeah.
They're just these kind of cultural stories that get passed on from person to person.
Mm-hmm.
I think kind of still talking about like superhero movies, one of the things that caused me never to also really get into them is the fact that like a lot of them were like PG-13 or whatever, and it's like that like all this like deaths were like off screen and stuff like, or like I don't know, just like a lot of, I mean, obviously it's like superhero stuff that's like kids love that, so like might as well make it PG-13. But like that's why when I saw like that Logan movie, I think it was like the last like
Logan was really good. Movie, I enjoyed that.
That was insane because it was like an R-rated movie, and like I mean like the deaths were on screen, like it actually like showed what it would be like.
They were fucking brutal.
And then that just makes me think of The Boys. I know Matthew has seen
that
The
one
Boys.
Yet.
Like so.
So what's like the basic premise of The Boys?
It's like superheroes are a concept, but it's in a world with the same personality and just as like Grand Theft Auto, where everyone's just terrible and like money is like everyone's priority rather than like actual like saving people. It's actually similar to My Hero, where like the heroes are like part of the government or like kind of set up as like, you know, public service people.
Okay.
But rather than owned by the government in a way, like it's run by one company, one singular company, one singular agency.
Good. It kind of takes like a like anti like business, anti like capitalist almost, I want to say. Like it shows you like if superheroes were like real in like say America, like how would that actually happen? How would it like end up happening? Yeah, because it'd be like, well, yeah, this one corporation is going to try to have a monopoly on all the superheroes, and then that causes like some shady stuff to happen. And without like spoiling anything, I mean, it's like one of the most incredible shows. I think it's on like the Amazon Prime Video, and there's only one season so far. But it is like some shit goes down, and like the superheroes aren't all of them aren't necessarily like the good guys, and it's very like interesting to kind of see like a corrupt point of view of that. In my opinion,
you can do a lot with superheroes, can't you? Like just as a concept, you can explore them as like, oh, what if they're the real bad guys? Or, you know, there's a whole ton of angles you can choose. I think that's really cool.
You know, I'm going to start talking about the cinematic universe in the room and talk about the MCU.
You mean that giant money printer that Disney bought?
But because I think that cinematic universe showed another facet of what's appealing about mainly DC and Marvel when it comes to superheroes, which is all these different types of characters live in the same universe, and that it somehow somewhat works. Like over the 80 years of writers justifying how a Wonder Woman and a Batman can be in the same universe is interesting. And the first like people that actually were able to do that was the MCU with Avengers in 2011, I think,
Were there any really good superhero movies before, like?
Well, there were good
maybe early Marvel before Avengers.
I'm saying like crossover. Like the reason Avengers was so big was that people were like, "Holy shit! There's like 5 different superheroes in this movie, and they all had their own movies." And then now, like, rather than them just developing their like origin story, we're actually having them do stuff. And then you could start after like 12 movies, then you could stop having origin story movies and you can start doing like, what if they fought each other? What if they got together again? What if they built a robot? Like other storylines that make comic books appealing.
I hadn't really considered that. Like before cinematic universes, most superhero stories are just origin stories.
And that's the biggest complaint, is that they're all the same. But to be fair, in my opinion, that's just the reason why the first phase of Marvel's kind of boring, is because it's all of that. But once you get that out of the way, you can start actually having interesting storylines being told.
Yeah, like the first Captain America movie is all right. The second one I found way more enjoyable to watch.
Yeah, because you have it's rather than just Captain America in World War II, you have Captain America in the modern times with modern concepts of freedom and information and stuff. And you saw this guy from the 40s like, what the fuck? Yeah,
I want some apple.
That's why I mean, like, I definitely see the appeal to that, and like as I'm watching more of the MCU, because I still haven't seen all of them, I definitely am seeing the appeal in that more. To me though, like, I mean, like Daniel, you mentioned it was kind of like just a money printer. Like at times it kind of feels like they're just like, well, we have all these people, what's like the next little thing that we can make them do and then make a bunch of money. And that's like why I don't know, I tend to like self-contained things a lot more. So like just like the Dark Knight trilogy. I know like everybody freaking
I fucking love that. The Dark Knight version of Bane. Oh, which one was that?
I think that was the third one.
That was the third one.
Yeah.
That was that's one of the only interpretations of Bane as a character I've seen. But I friggin' love him. The way he talks, his whole mannerisms, just everything about him.
They managed to do like what most somehow movie writers can't, which they're just like, they see Bane, which in the comics is a character that's not just buff. He manages to like outsmart the Batman by like, basically in this first storyline, he literally caused like 12 hours worth of like work for Batman to do overnight. Like, and then at that point, big buff Bane went and fought him and beat the shit out of him. And that's how like the point of Bane is he's both. He's both like super strong and but also super smart and snarky.
Did Bane ever show up in the Dark Knight games or whatever? Because I know you, Matthew, you like 100%ed every single one of those games.
Yeah, that's interesting because he's in one, and he's in City and he's in Asylum, and in those games, he's mostly kind of just the brute. Like you just fight him as a boss in Asylum, and the one good thing about the prequel game, Arkham Origins, is he's actually that. He literally, spoiler alert, halfway through the game, just figures out you're Bruce Wayne. Like, he figures it out. He's like, yeah, it makes sense.
I mean, I guess that makes sense with you saying, like, he's not only supposed to be, like, just a big buff guy, but also intelligent.
He also, like, twice in the game, like you try to sneak up on him, and then there's a cutscene where he just goes, like, he instantly notices you and just, like, goes through the wall and pulls you out.
Oh my gosh.
While we're on this subject, lightning round, Holden, you first. Favorite superhero and favorite supervillain?
Okay, well, favorite villain...
From any media. Any media. It could be Western, Eastern, whatever.
Okay, well, crap. I mean, like, now that's making me want to, like, think of, like, My Hero, like, freaking stuff. But I think my favorite villain in all of, like, superhero stuff is probably the Joker. I know it's kind of like a stereotypical, like,
society,
thing,
man.
But yeah, Joker, and especially with, like, the new Joker movie, that's insane.
I never saw that. I heard it was really, really good.
Ooh, you need to watch it. It makes you feel like shit after watching it. Like, it is not a fun movie to watch.
Hey, movies don't have to be fun to be, things you want to watch.
But it's good. But so to still be fast, so he's my favorite villain. And then honestly, I think Wolverine is my favorite like superhero, because like he's kind of just like I don't know if brutal is the right word, but like I don't know what the right word is, but
Visceral.
Yeah, kind of like along that lines. Like I just love him. What about you, Matthew?
So for hero, I'm gonna be cliche and say Batman because come on, who doesn't?
Yeah, he's pretty cool.
But for villain, even though it kind of gets iffy at this point, I'm gonna be quirky and say Red Hood, even though he's technically
Red Hood.
You could say either way. He's
I don't know who it is. Yeah, who's Red Hood?
He's the second Robin that died and then came back, but like was just legit upset. It's like, what the fuck? You're not gonna? So you just don't kill people? That's his thing, and that's how he fucks with Batman. But now he's kind of on the good side because he's not evil. He just
is it kind of more like vigilante?
Good light,
or
he's basically the Punisher.
Okay, that makes sense. What about you, Daniel? Who's your favorite and least favorite villain?
Favorite villain, probably Bane. Just I love his voice. I can't do an impression. My favorite hero? You know, I'm probably gonna have to be the weeb in the room here. I'm gonna have to go with All Might.
All Might. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, for my hero. Like he does the Superman thing while still being relatable and like vulnerable. It's Superman I can never get attached to because it's just like, oh, he'll have smash pull and he'll make it. All Might, he's still a human.
Yeah, he's definitely got like his weaknesses. My hair is good. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
And also, like every interaction between him and Midoriya is the most pure thing ever. So that's pretty fun.
They do a good job of in the very beginning showing like him having flaws, and it's very interesting. Yet him still like somewhat justifiably being All Might.
Yeah, that makes me think of One Punch Man because we're talking about like anime. And for those who don't know One Punch Man, it's kind of the same thing. It's a hero culture, and there's constantly monsters and villains attacking everyone, so they have to hire a bunch of heroes. And there's just this one guy that's like he wants to be a hero and save people, so he just worked out, but he worked out like apparently too much, and he's just like the strongest thing in the entire universe, and he can kill anything in one punch. And the first season did a real good job of keeping it entertaining. And the second season was kind of disappointing, in my opinion, anyways.
The second season wasn't bad, in my opinion. It was just a bit, like, mediocre compared to how the first one was. It was enjoyable to watch.
Yeah. Did you guys ever play the, like, Injustice games? So, like, the Mortal Kombat, but for all the heroes?
I've seen clips of them because for some reason on my YouTube recommended I'll get like, all good guy interactions. And
those are so annoying. You get so many of those. And
I click on one because I'm mildly interested. Like,
that's why you get recommended.
These two characters in fiction. I click on it once and my feed's just full of it. I hate it.
You have sealed your own fate. But it's like Matthew, like he constantly like complains about what his YouTube recommendations are, but he constantly keeps clicking on these stupid things.
I would argue, but I just earlier today clicked on all gay jokes from Family Guy compilation.
But like, why though? Like,
why would you click on that?
Because the thumbnails are intriguing, but immediately when I click them, I'm like, I'm just going to get sent more. And then there'll be one Family Guy clip where it's like Stewie trying to hang himself, but he can't like get through the hole because of his stupid head shape. I'll be like, I want to watch that clip. Daniel, there was a really good one. It was like these lobsters getting revenge on Peter by shoving his face into a boiling cup, and then like son goes, "Stop! You're hurting him!" And it's like, "Oh no, that's just air escaping. It's actually they don't feel pain. It's fine."
Oh my gosh!
Damn.
To kind of like attempt to pull us back into
oh yeah, we were talking about superheroes or something.
We were attempting to, yes. I know one. I think the oldest example of like video game culture, like I guess affecting me when I was younger. Gamer culture was this game called Marvel Ultimate Alliance, and I don't know if it was like. I know there was multiple. I don't know if it was like the first or the third, but I had it on the PlayStation 2. And it was like kind of like this just like action game, like kind of like like a top-down perspective. And I remember at one point, I don't know any of these heroes or any of these villains, but I just remember at one point the villain has like two heroes in like cages above lava, and it does like kind of the stereotypical thing of like, oh, you have to pick which one to save, and then whichever one you save, they constantly just for the rest of the game are complaining and bitching that you didn't save the other person. But now that I think about it, I can't remember the heroes or the villain in that experience. So
what was the point of that tangent?
I don't know. I'm just trying to slowly somehow bring us back to...
Okay, well, if we're talking about...
on like moral dichotomies and heroes and villains, hey, Matthew.
If we're talking about games, Injustice was always interesting, but for me, the best shot a game has had on like a game for a superhero was probably the Batman Arkham games. Those are like the most solid, like, if you want to feel like Batman, you play those games.
It really makes you feel like Batman.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
I know that new Spider-Man game apparently was good. I never played it.
Apparently, it really makes you feel like Spider-Man, you know?
It really makes you feel like Spider-Man. Have they ever made a good Superman movie? Not movie, game? Because, like, now that I think about
game?
That's into Superman 64.
That was terrible. I know what that one is.
That's good from, like, a work of art standpoint, where it's something so just completely broken that it's admirable.
I know my first YouTube guy that I ever watched was that Angry Video Game Nerd, and I have watched a video of him reviewing Superman 64 and just talking about how awful of a game it is.
I remember 13-year-old me watching videos like that and going, yeah, fuck those games. What am I gonna do with this information?
Yeah, I remember always watching those channels. I'm like, he's a game review channel for like old games I'm never going to play, but like it makes me appreciate.
See, here at Media Crash, we give you useful information. Like, we think Bane is cool.
Yes.
What our favorite superheroes are. You should listen to us.
Like that will allow you. You know, I know you're
gonna get into college going on. That.
Like all these schools and stuff are going to online class or having their classes canceled. You don't need any of that. Just listen to us talk about our favorite heroes and villains, and that's all you need in your life.
We're the heroes of the story.
We are the heroes of our own.
All right, as long as we're on the subject of superheroes, this is kind of tangential, but do you remember Borderlands 2 Handsome Jack as a character?
Mm-hmm.
For those of you who haven't played Borderlands, his whole thing, he's the villain of the game, but he views himself as the hero of the story. So he does all these morally reprehensible things, but he justifies it as saying, I'm the hero. The people I hurt are villains, bandits, they're evil. And it's kind of interesting because, it was interesting for me when I played it as a young lad, because I hadn't really encountered that in fiction before. It was just always very clear-cut, heroes and villains.
Yeah,
I kind of like how media's been evolving more with superhero stories. It's not just good guy, bad guy. Sometimes it's done better, sometimes it's done worse, but it's good to have that kind of change.
Do you know a great, apparently, representation of that in a story is actually a Superman story, and it's Superman Red Sun.
I've heard of that.
It's not just what if Superman evil, which is just like the one where he's just adopted by Nazis. And this one, it's more like, it's still like the personality of Superman, but he landed in like Soviet Russia and was indoctrinated by Soviet beliefs. And so he thinks murder, like killing someone, people are okay if it's like to pursue like pure equality of like the people. And as the story goes on, it's just him learning.
Isn't that what oh, go ahead. Sorry.
He just he actually gets character development and learns like what harm like his nation could be doing, even though he's trying to be what he thinks is right when it's actually not.
That kind of reminds me, going back to Injustice, the game, because I think it's based off of like comics of Injustice, but wasn't that where I think it was something like the Joker actually succeeded in a plan and he killed Superman's wife, pregnant wife or something like that.
He made Superman punched Lois Lane in the stomach using like fear gas or something,
Oh,
and then
that's
blew up
even-
Metropolis at the same time because there was some bomb connected to her.
He flew her into space thinking it was Doomsday, but it was actually his pregnant wife, and then the heart triggered like a nuke in all of Metropolis. That's what happened.
Holy hell. So isn't it like he just like completely turns evil because of that, and like another alternate dimension universe, like
Yeah,
an entire different Superman, like from a different universe, has to come in and save the day or something?
which has been my favorite that the Superman that's good in that game has been my favorite representation of how to both do Superman and like his writing great. Is because did you ever play the campaign for the first one?
Yeah, that's like one of the few fighting games I ever actually played the campaign of.
Do you like at the very end? Like it's so sick because he comes in and everyone's like, "Oh my god, it's Superman!" And he's like all like cheery and like beating everyone's ass, but he's doing it in like a wholesome way. And then he gets his own self, and like he fucking shoots him down. It's amazing.
Damn.
Yeah. I think
That sounds like a cool interaction. One really cool thing about superhero stories is just the grab bag of characters you have, and you can put them in any situation.
I just remembered and the opposite of my least favorite depiction of Superman, which was in both a movie and an animated movie and one of the comics, which was I think Apocalypse War or something like that, which was just like the introductory arc for the reboot of the like how the Justice League was formed, and apparently how Batman, Superman, and like all the other Justice League met, which is Superman comes in and they just start fighting. Like Superman just is like he's basically like Goku in the scene. He's just like, what can you do? And starts like attacking him. And I'm like, what the fuck, Superman? Why are you like a psychopath? Yeah,
Superman watched a bunch of shonen anime before.
Yeah, he just
coming in,
starts
just
like
thought,
wanting.
That's how you interact with people.
It's so like much of a bastardization of like how he should be that like it honestly like pissed me off because the writers are just like, what if Batman and Superman fight all the Justice League people? Well, that's what it was. It was just a misunderstanding, but the misunderstanding was Superman just being overly aggressive for some reason.
Yeah, kind of going to connecting that with kind of something Daniel was saying earlier with like having it not being like black and white always. Isn't that like I still haven't seen this, but isn't that kind of what like Civil War is in the MCU? Because you have like half these heroes that are doing something because they think.
I wouldn't be able to comment on it because I haven't seen it either.
Matthew, our resident MCU expert.
Okay,
Matthew.
So people make fun of it because people think it's not morally ambiguous because theoretically Captain America is more on the right just because like, yeah, we don't want fucking giving our identities to the government. That's kind of fucked up. But at the same time, it's about because you just can't have vigilantes just put on a mask and say I'm a superhero and go out and do stuff. Like theoretically, you shouldn't let that happen. But at the same time, it's about whether or not the superheroes have a right to like their privacy and like their own way of doing things.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that didn't turn into a huge political controversy at the time. Like talking about anything even like vaguely, privacy based.
The only problem is in a universe where Hydra exists, I would never want that. I would be on Captain because like considering like I don't want to spoil.
In our world, that would be pretty like reasonable. You don't want someone to put on a wrestler mask and then go breaking people's kneecaps for littering. But in a world where there's secret shadow governments,
I don't trust it way more.
Spooky.
Yeah.
So we're kind of running a little bit low on time, but to wrap this up, I think what would be kind of fun is we're talking about like our superhero stuff in different genres, and like we're talking about The Boys and like anime, My Hero. So like what would be like our favorite if we kind of like categorize like our favorite like superhero game, superhero like TV shows, superhero anime. I think like anime, it'd be My Hero. I think all of us would just unanimously probably vote My Hero Academia.
So that or One Punch Man.
Yeah, One Punch Man.
Yeah, my vote's for My Hero.
If it didn't have season 2.
If it was just season 1, I see why they delayed it so long.
Oh my god! But yeah, so My Hero Academia. If you haven't seen that, it's like the best like superhero anime ever. In terms of video game, now this is probably a little harder. I would say like the Dark Knight trilogies. I'm trying to think of something like it probably depends on like what kind of video game you're wanting to play because I could see like if you just want like to play with a bunch of different characters and beat a bunch of people up like Injustice, like those games would probably be good.
I'm gonna have to go off the ones I've actually played, and I've actually only played one superhero game, the Incredibles 1 video game.
Was it on the game? Was it
original
the Game
Xbox.
Boy or okay?
No, the original Xbox.
I've played that one, and they also had a Game Boy one.
It was pretty fun.
Gosh,
I was really bad at video games though, since I was like young. I don't even remember how young.
That just reminds me of I think we talked about it in the last or the horror episode, but I remember in Incredibles that game.
Yeah, there's a underwater.
There's an underwater
or
section.
Water swimming. Yeah.
Mm-mm.
Matthew, favorite video game?
It has to be between Arkham City. I'm gonna say Arkham City because just overall the plot is more concise. Well, Arkham Knight has some flaws in that regard. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So we have anime. We have
Movie?
video game. So now movie. What do we think is just the best superhero movie?
Suicide Squad.
Everybody hated that movie. I thought it was fun.
Okay.
I don't think it was a good movie. I thought it was a fun movie.
I thought it was such a god-awful train wreck that it was entertaining to watch.
And I actually like that Joker. Like, fight me.
Oh, okay. No, I will. That was the worst Joker ever. And it was hilarious whenever he was on screen. Like, man, I really understand this guy's characterization. He has the word damaged tattooed on his forehead. I couldn't have understand that he might have suffered through some trauma otherwise.
I think that guy's running a cult now. Like Jared Leto or so.
Really?
Actor. I heard he's on some
I
island.
could see it.
And he has a bunch of like, I don't know, this was just like a tweet I saw, so totally could be bullshit. But like.
Probably.
But like.
Did you see the post that he made where he was like, "Oh, I was on this retreat for a couple weeks. Apparently, there's this thing called coronavirus coming around. It's spooky." And everyone's like, "Shut the fuck up!"
Oh my gosh.
You're dying. He's like trying to make a big deal out of something that's like been going on and people are suffering. He's like, "Oh."
Like trying to, yeah. So, okay, so not Suicide Squad. I would probably say, I mean, I know I haven't seen the MCU, so I'm sure a lot of people like Matthew might say like Endgame or whatever the finales to MCU were. But for me, like freaking Logan, honestly, like that was just like what I want in a superhero movie. I want it to be gritty. That was the word I was looking for this entire time was gritty. So I like that. What would be your favorite superhero movie, you guys?
I need to give a non-ironic answer.
Not Suicide Squad.
I just default on Dark Knight.
This is just
This Dark Knight. It's just it's nothing really.
That's good. That's the one with Joker in it, right? That's the second one?
That movie managed to pull off like a fourth act, which is very interesting.
Yeah, not a lot of movies can do that. Or
so what
at
would be
least do
your
it
favorite
successfully.
superhero, Dan?
Because it holds a special place in my heart as one of the movies that introduced me to superheroes. The second Tobey Maguire, Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movie.
So like, isn't that like the Amazing Spider-Man?
No. That's
that's
the other guy.
Andrew Garfield one.
Yeah.
We're going like two Spider-Mans back. This is the one where he
Doc Ock.
got the Venom suit. He had the,
No, that's the third one. That's the third one.
Guns. No, or is the third one the Sandman one? Oh God, I'm a fake fan.
Okay, so
well, whichever one had the Venom suit, Spider-Man, then maybe the third Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movie. They were all pretty good.
We have video games, we have anime, so now just TV show, like American, like more just kind of like live action. Oh, that makes me Teen Titans. That's a good show, but I don't know if it'd be my favorite. I think The Boys.
I'm just gonna pick that.
Oh, you're gonna say Teen Titans?
Yeah. So I'm also gonna say Teen Titans.
Teen Titans is really good, but I would probably say after watching The Boys, like The Boys is probably like it's really gritty and it's like it's pretty much one of the only superhero like stories like that I feel like are realistic, like as if they were in like a society like America, because that would totally be monopolized by like some company.
Oh yeah.
So what about you, Matthew? Favorite superhero TV show?
There's so many I want to recommend, but I'm probably just gonna say, honestly, like probably Teen Titans. To be honest, but
that's good. You're talking about the new Teen Titans, right?
No. But I want to recommend both Young Justice, which has a very solid animated series. It's like one of the few series where like usually like the villains are the ones always like fucking with the people behind the scenes. But in this series specifically, you have some of the superheroes like Batman just start fucking doing like Game of Thrones to the bad guys, trying to throw them off things. It's actually pretty interesting.
That's cool.
And then Doom Patrol, I cannot commend enough as like
I've heard that many times.
Funny and weird, but it's like amazing. But and I'm just gonna say it because I've actually read comics. My favorite comic arc was probably like Batman Eternal, which I don't know if the populace generally liked it, but it was just a concise story where Batman like keeps fighting villains, and then it's like they keep showing him a letter that they got from someone else that gave them to come to the Gotham to fuck things up, and he keeps thinking he found the guy that was behind it all, but then they keep giving him a letter showing that they were just invited to the same thing, and it's just like a mystery of who the fuck keeps where does it end, like
where does the story end?
Yeah, it's interesting.
So, well, it has been a ton of fun talking about the superhero genre.
It hasn't been any fun. I've been miserable this whole time.
We're actually holding everyone hostage.
He has a gun to my head through the monitor. Call the police.
Through the monitor. I've been holding it this entire time. But, if you enjoyed this, definitely, make sure you follow us or we're on all the different podcast platforms. So you can not only watch us, you can hear us. And if you're listening to us, you can also watch us on our YouTube channel. It's just Media Crash everywhere. So stay tuned. Next week, we'll be talking about a whole nother fun topic. So I realized we didn't also introduce ourselves at all at the beginning. So ending introduction. I am Holden, or Time to Grind.
I am Daniel, or not Daniel.
I am Matthew with one T apparently on this thing. I just realized. But yeah.
Hell yeah. Well, okay, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching or listening, and we will see you guys next episode.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.